Lesson 11-3, adding integers. And in this lesson, you learn to add integers using models. When are you ever going to use this? Knowing how to add integers can help you keep score in games. We need to understand what a zero pair is in this word-wise part. Okay, so let's take a look at this example of Monza and Victor. Monza and Victor are playing a board game. In the game, each player rolls a number cube and moves a token. Some squares on the game board have further instruction. Monza starts at 0 and rolls a 5. The fifth square tells him to roll again, and he rolls a 6. His token lands in a square that tells him to move back 3 spaces. So how many spaces from the start is Monza's token? So to find the location of Monza's token, you will need to add integers. And you can add integers using models. Remember what integers are. It's a set of whole numbers and their opposites, including 0. Okay? So use yellow counters to represent positive integers and red counters to represent negative integers. Okay? So before we answer this, let's go to an introduction to zero pairs. Okay? So before we start answering Monza and Victor's problem, let's take a look at what zero pairs are. So you can use counters to help you understand integers. Yellow counters represent positive integers and red counters represent negative integers. Okay, let me use a screen shade here so that you won't see, and we'll do it one step at a time. So when you pair one counter of each color, the result is 0. We call this pair of counters a zero pair. So first, place 3 yellow counters on the mat to represent a positive 3 integers. So something like this. That represents a positive 3 integer. And step number 2, to create a zero pair, place 3 red counters on the same mat to represent negative 3. So basically, in that integer mat, we now have a positive 3 plus a negative 3. So you have positive 3 counters, which is represented by yellow, and we're adding 3 negative counters, which is represented by red. So this particular expression is positive 3 plus negative 3. Okay, so step number 3, pair the positive and negative counters, and thus this is where we get the name zero pairs. Remove as many zero pairs as possible, because you know for a fact that when you have a positive 1 and a negative 1, that equals a 0. Okay, so if you do that, we pair our zero pairs, and we have 3 of them. So we got those pairs. Pair up a yellow and a red. That's a zero pair. Okay, so if you pair them all up, okay, and those are called zero pairs, what's going to be left on the mat? So as you get a zero pair, you remove them from the mat. So when you continue doing that, you find out that as you add them up, okay, the result will be 0. So positive 3 plus negative 3 is actually equal to 0. And that's what a zero pair is. Okay, now let's go back to Monza and Victor's problem. Okay, so remember that yellow counters represent positive integers and red counters represent negative integers. So to find the location of Monza's token, you'll need to add integers. We talked about this. And we will use the yellow and red counters to be able to do this. So let's do step number 1 in trying to understand what we need to do in Monza's problem. So use 5 positive counters to represent Monza's first roll. Okay, and use 6 positive counters to represent Monza's second roll of positive 6. Place all the counters on the mat, just like right here. 5 positive counters and 6 positive counters. That simply means the expression here is 5 positive 5 plus positive 6, or 5 plus 6 equals 11 positive counters. And then use 3 negative counters to represent 3 spaces backward. Okay, so place the 3 negative counters on the mat with the 11 positive counters. So you have your 11 positive counters, and we added 3 negative counters. Okay, and then step number 3, pair the positive counters with the negative counters. Remove as many 0 pairs as possible since it does not change the value on the mat. So once you take out 0, remember when you subtract anything with 0, the number is the same. So it's the same thing here. So we simply have to remove as many 0 pairs as we can. So if you notice, we have 3 0 pairs removed, and if you remove these 3 0 pairs, you're left with 8 positive counters. So in what we did, we forgot to do this. So this now becomes 11 or positive 11 plus negative 3, and then positive 11 plus negative 3, taking out the 0 counters, now you're left with 8. So positive 11 plus negative 3 is equal to 8. Okay, so there are 8 total of 8 positive counters left on the mat. Monza's token is 8 spaces from the starting point. Okay, and let's take a look at example number 1 and see how this works further. Use counters to find negative 4 plus 3. Okay, so again, place 4 negative counters on the mat to represent negative 4, and place 3 positive counters on the same mat to represent adding 3. So you have 3 positive counters and 4 negative counters, which is here, right there. Okay, and step number 2, pair the positive and negative counters. Remove as many 0 pairs as possible. So if we do this, we have this part of it. So we have 1, 2, 3 0 pairs to be removed, and the result is only 1 negative counter. So step number 3, okay, count the counters left on the mat, and there's only 1 left, and that's 1 negative counter. So this represents negative 1. So negative 4 plus 3 is equal to negative 1. Okay? Let's take a look at example number 2. We want to find out negative 2 plus negative 2. Okay? So again, first step, place 2 negative counters on the mat to represent negative 2. And then since we're adding negative 2, place 2 more negative counters on the same mat to represent adding negative 2. So you have this, negative 2 plus negative 2. Since there are no positive counters, you cannot remove any 0 pairs. So simply count the number of counters on the mat. There are 4 negative counters. This represents negative 4. So negative 2 plus negative 2 is equal to negative 4. Okay? And the secret word for this particular lesson would be Howard. The secret word would be Howard. Okay? And let's take a look at the last example. The last example, we can use a number line to add integers. And let's see how this is used in example 3. On a popular TV game show, a contestant has 200 points, then loses 500 points. What is the contestant's score? Okay? So basically what it's saying, you need to find the sum of 200 plus negative 500. So let's consider the number line. So we start at 200. So we start at 0 and go to 200. And this is what we did here. Okay? So in terms of 200, it is going to the right. So we go to the right of 0, going to 200. From that point, from 200, all we need to do is go 500 in the negative direction, which is going to the left. So we have our 200, which is this line right there. And then from our 200, we go 500 in the opposite direction. So if you notice, once you go back 500, it lands on negative 300. So in this case now, you end at negative 300. So 200 plus negative 500 is equal to negative 300. Okay? I'll give you one more example on this one. Let's make our own number line. Let's see if I have a number line here. I think I do. Let me find it. Number line, letter N. Guess not. Number line, LMN. Nope, that means I have to make my own. Okay, okay, so let me make my own number line. So I have this here. So let's say I have a number line, such as this one, with arrowheads. Okay, let's make our hash marks here. Mark them red too. So we start off with 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6. So let's make a simple example. Let's say we want to add 3. Let's do -4 plus 7. Okay, so we want to find -4 plus 7, so we start off with from 0 and we go to -4. So from 0 we go to -4. That's where we're at right now. Okay, let's make a line right there, 0 to -4, and then from -4 we go to the right 7 spaces. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we make this a different color now. Let's make it blue this time. So from -4 go all the way to 3, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you notice, okay, it falls on -3. So -4 plus 7, okay, is equal to +3. Okay? And that's our lesson. Thanks for watching.